It always boggles my mind when people say that they don't feel that they can overcome certain challenges and that they don't think they can do it. Because my belief is that anybody can do absolutely anything that they want, even if, the biggest obstacles stand in their way. And, you know, over the course of my life, I've gone through some situations that have been really hard and challenging, really challenging. What I've learned is that it's the littlest things that can get us that self-confidence we need to overcome challenges. And one of the things I would strongly recommend for anybody who's facing a significant challenge or obstacle or just doesn't have the self-confidence that they need to overcome them is to find people that you can identify with. Find people that you can talk to that will understand exactly where you're at, because, they exist. It doesn't seem like it. Sometimes we feel really isolated and like there's nobody out there who's going to understand. But if you look hard enough and you find even just one person who can understand where you're coming from and give you that comfort, that me too, that means a lot, because it means that now you're not alone. Now somebody else has gone through something and you can feed off of their experience or their expertise. The second thing that needs to happen is you need to tap into the people who are already in your corner. And what I mean by this is use the people that love and support you now as your hope, right? Sometimes it's like, I don't believe in myself, but my family believes in me, or my dad believes in me, or someone believes in me and believes that I'm going to do something great, even if I can't see it. And that hope, knowing that they believe, is enough sometimes to get me to believe that I can do it too. So when you tap into that power of those who have been supporting you and already love you, and maybe they don't understand exactly what you're going through, but they can say, hey, I know you've got whatever it takes to accomplish X, Y, Z. So those are the people you really need to hang on to because they're already your fans. So use them as your hope. And the third thing that I would suggest doing in this situation, whatever situation it might be, is to make a move, but make it small, right? Don't make a giant move and expect that, you're going to have this big win and everything's going to be great. Make little moves. Little moves make little wins, and the little wins add up. And what that does is give us that momentum, because now it's like, okay, well, that little thing worked out and that little thing worked out. So don't do all of this stuff in one day. Unfortunately, overcoming something or gaining self-confidence isn't something that you're going to get in a day or a week or a month. If you really want to be that version of yourself, if you really want to get through this, it's not something that's going to come easily, because anything that you win easily is easily gone. So start noticing those little wins, but make moves, because if you don't make moves, you can never, ever win. You're just stuck. So make a move, but make it small. The next thing you're going to want to do is build up a little bit of self-esteem. Now, you're doing that a little bit with your little wins in number 3, but what's really going to build that self-esteem is doing esteemable things. So when you do good and when you do the next right thing, all of a sudden you start to feel good about yourself. And that builds up the self-esteem that you need to make even bigger moves. And to lead into point number 5, really focus on the evidence. So, I like to bulk 3 and 4 together, because as you're getting the little wins, there's some evidence. As you're building your self-esteem, maybe you're noticing something different about who you are. As you're doing good things, maybe somebody's saying something, wow, I see a difference, or wow, thank you so much. And what that does is that builds up who we are. And now we've got a little bit of evidence, and we have to keep our eyes open for that evidence, because it's really easy for us to be hard on ourselves and to say, wow, I'm not good enough, or, I'm never going to be able to do this, and to get really down and discouraged. But when we open our eyes and say, wow, I was here 6 months ago and now I'm here, maybe it's not where we want to be, and, maybe that's not the end goal, but it's a different place and it's a better place. So we have to keep our eyes open for even the littlest things. And this leads into point number 7 for me, which is my biggest suggestion, is to find something to hang on to in those times of desperation, because sometimes we don't feel hopeful, and it doesn't matter who's in our corner. It doesn't matter who identifies with us, who we identify with. It doesn't matter how much how much self-esteem we've gained over time. We are human and we get really discouraged. But if you find something to hang on to, and maybe this is something as silly as a feather, and that is actually my thing. Feathers are my thing. And what I've noticed is that over time, feathers have become this symbol of hope for me. And so what do I mean by that is, as I'm in situations that feel daunting, that feel really discouraging, I see feathers. I gotta tell you, maybe they were there all along and I didn't have my eyes open for them. Maybe I wasn't looking for that evidence, but I see these feathers, and what I notice is that they come to me at times where I need some hope or inspiration the most. And I'll give you an example. The other night I was feeling down. I didn't feel hopeful about anything. I just felt really down. And I shared this with someone, and I said, wow, I just feel really, empty. I feel like I need something to make me feel better, which isn't true. And I said, I just feel like there's nothing. Like, what's the point? What's the point of all of this? What's the point of me working so hard? What's the point of, school functions and make lunches? And it felt really daunting, and I felt really hopeless. I felt like, wow, it's a Friday night. I've got nothing to look forward to right now. I feel really bored with life. And I walked into a coffee shop, and all the way at the end, deep into the coffee shop, there's a feather on the floor, a giant, beautiful feather. And I think to myself, how did this feather get in here, all the way here? And I look down and I laugh to myself, because I know for me, that's what I hang on to. I hang on to a sign that, that this is my sign telling me that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And it doesn't have to be a feather. It can be anything. It can be a song on the radio. It can be whatever, a dragonfly. It can be the most absurd thing, as long as it's yours. It just has to mean something to you. And that, for me, is what gets me through to the next moment where I feel hope, and it gives me this burst of hope. So I would highly suggest finding something to hang on to, because sometimes we need something that's a little bigger than ourselves to get us through to the next phase. And bridge, it's something to get us over that bridge. And once you have gained a little bit of self-esteem, and you have people in your corner, you have people you can call no matter what, who understand what you're going through. And it doesn't have to be called. You might find a Facebook support group. You might find whatever, a therapist. I don't know, whatever you pick, you pick. You need to find somebody, though. And I would highly recommend finding somebody who's not a professional that you can just talk to once in a while, so that you can see that real humans get through things too. And somebody that's not paid to sit there and listen to you. And that is meaningful, to see real people doing real things. And it gives you the hope that you need, gives me the hope that I need to get through to the next thing. And eventually, as time goes on and you build up that evidence and you gain the confidence to do bigger and bigger things, and you get bigger and bigger wins, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, everything starts to grow. And all of a sudden, those challenges that seem insurmountable are no longer. And you're kind of like, wow, I've gotten through so much. I can get through anything. And I think that's what we need to understand, is that this is a process, and this is not something that happens for people overnight. And there's no, magic formula or potion that's going to get us to that place. And it requires work. It requires being self-aware. It requires, diligence. It requires honesty with ourselves and with other people, and getting vulnerable. And if we're willing to do those things, then we might just find ourselves in a place where we believe that we can pretty much